So we're going to move on to our last panel of the day, and then just for housekeeping, we'll have boxed lunches afterwards. We'll have some closing remarks from Mike Drury, and we'd love to have as many of you stay as possible to take a tour of Columbus and see what we're doing here. We'll have some tour guides available. We've had just a couple of incredible sessions. Just moving from those, again, the big picture of some of the federal policies that impact us at a local level, some wonderful family stories. I just had a total geek fest with the last one, talking about all these kinds of different investment opportunities and pay for success. And now we're going to move on to something that's a little more specific around autism, but I think it's a wonderful example of how we're moving forward to work together as communities to make a difference for some of those young adults coming out of school and older adults who really are reaching out and want to be a part of our community, and we're finding ways to do that. So I'd like to introduce Mike Drury, the chair of the Global Interdependence Center, who will be our moderator, and if you'd introduce our speakers, we'll move on from here. Thanks.
I'm really happy to be moderating this panel. This is...
Make sure everybody speaks into the microphones real closely because they had a hard time hearing them.
Okay. We'll yell. Because this is where we go from, we started with policy, then we talked about financing, and this is where we really get into application. The people are really putting a lot of this to work. We're going to start with Dr. Cheryl Wright from the University of Utah Neuroversity. I had the pleasure of meeting her last night at dinner and hearing a lot about the exciting work they're doing there. Then Thorkel Sohn, our stellar keynote speaker from last year, has returned. He's the founder of Specialistern. Did I say it right? Close to right? Okay. Then Jose Velasco, who's the vice president at SAP and the head of their Autism at Work program. Gary Knapp, the executive director here at Columbus, needs no introduction. And finally, Laura Anderson, the president of the Autism Council of Utah. I think we'll just go in that order, so let's start with Dr. Wright.
Okay, I'm really excited to be here. I do have a PowerPoint, if we pull that up. Okay, can you hear me? What I'm going to talk about is I'm a professor at the University of Utah, and we've developed a program called Neuroversity. And basically, it's a technology education program for students on the autism spectrum. And our focus is on the strengths of this particular population. It's interest-based, which is highly motivating, and it's very family-focused. What we do is we teach 3D modeling skills, and we support and leverage these students, their visual spatial skills and interests in technology. Our short-term goals have been personal, social, and vocational skill development, and our long-range goals are internships and targeted employment. And for those of you who are not aware, that individuals on the spectrum have some of the highest, if not the highest, unemployment rates because of the disability. So it is a research program, and we've been doing this for 5 years now, and we've served over 70 students, a wide age range from 8 to 23. And we have actually replicated our program in 3 other states, Oregon, Colorado, and Florida. And what we have found is we have figured out a way, it's so exciting, that we use SketchUp, which is a 3D modeling program that is used by millions of professionals all over the world, architects, engineers, directors, gamers, landscape people. I mean, it's just a great gateway for these kids to start thinking about what they're capable of and possible future careers. What we do is we have the kids work on 3D modeling. They create their own designs based on their own interest, and we have found increases in self-confidence, leadership. They get up and they present their designs. Then a big part of our program is peer-to-peer teaching, so that when a kid says, how do I do this tool? We're not the adults that jump in. We're saying, who in the class knows how to do this tool? And then we bring kids back who have worked with us in previous workshops to be with us as co-teachers. A very powerful experience for them. The other thing that has been very amazing to all of us and was never the intention of our work is that by these students sharing their amazing designs with each other, and we invite family members every workshop to come and see the presentations, we have found increases in social engagement. There are things these kids talk about to each other, to their peers. I'll talk about our program here at Columbus, but everybody is always amazed at how chitty-chatty these kids are. As parents tell us in our intake forms, they have no friends. They are able to establish friendships with each other. And then vocational skill development. They have a skill and ability. They're super, the kids we work with are visual spatial learners. They don't want us to talk to them and lecture to them at all. They love to design things and they think very visually. And so we've taken advantage of what we know is a skill and ability that they have. And we're hoping that that leads to future occupational readiness. We feel like we're at the beginning of our program and that we have a long way to go in that kind of development. Just to talk about all the people that have been involved in the development of this program, the University of Utah has been incredibly supportive. I have to do a shout out for the Lassonde Institute. And, you know, we have lots of graduate and undergraduate students who are passionately devoted. We have a couple of our team members that are here with us today. We've involved school districts at various sites, community agencies. Columbus Community Center has been a fabulous partner. They're like, which room do you want to use to set up your lab? At the University of Utah we don't have any space for you. So it was wonderful to have that kind of collaboration. Advocacy groups, Autism Council of Utah has funded some of our research and equipment, and the Utah Autism Foundation has funded the development of our curriculum. Businesses, Big D, Trimble is one of our big supporters, it's a big navigational company, and we've been funded by Google. Sounds like a lot of big companies, but we have built this program on a shoestring, which is often the case with social impact programs. And then this summer, we did a pilot program that was funded through the Governor's Technology Innovation Program. And so we served 10 students that were transition age. When we go to communities, it seems like transitional age students are the needs in communities. They don't want to lose those kids that are getting ready to either, graduate from high school. We all talk about it as them falling off the cliff. They just disappear in our communities. They are in their parents' bedrooms, in their parents' basements. That's what we usually say. And so we're trying to find a way to help with that incredible unemployment rate, underemployment, and then the other term we use is malemployment. There are some really brilliant kids we've worked with, and they have some really remedial kinds of jobs that they're connected to, and there's an immense amount of talent that's going untapped and undiscovered. So this is one of our designs from one of our kids from the summer. And then the real exciting part about this project, our pilot project this summer, is our community partner, Big D. Our kids learned the SketchUp program. They did these incredibly creative designs. It was a wonderful first week. And the second week it was, okay, now you have to do a real job. They were so anxious. We gave kids choice. If you don't want to come back and do a real job, that's fine. But we're going to pay you to do the real job. Highly motivating. Because this is the part where you've got to put these panels together. You've got to use precise dimensions. You've got to fit them into this building. And Big D loaned us one of their mentors to work with our kids. The kids, everyone, for me, it's always, they've got to be successful. These kids have so many, experiences that have really hardened them. I always talk about it as their the pearls are in their hard clams, their shells, because they've built up resistance because they've had a lot of failure experiences. And we have found a way to help uncover some of that, and they all have had successful experiences. I told somebody today, I said, I think we're batting 1,000. I can't believe this program has been so successful. And so these are some other designs that the kids have done. We worked with Nexus Architecture, and I think Gary's going to talk a little bit more about that effort. But these kids gave feedback about what kind of housing they would like to live in, and every one of them had social space. My favorite anecdote was one of our students who said, this is where we socialize, and I didn't put a computer and I didn't put a TV in there because we don't want to be distracted. And so you think that a lot of kids on the autism spectrum, they're in their own worlds, they don't like social engagement. Social engagement can be very stressful for them, but they all want to have friends. And we have found a way to show their talent, but we've also found a way to illustrate how to get them socially engaged by showing off their abilities and engaging in that way. So I could ramble on, just like everybody else on these panels, forever and ever about this, but I think I'm done.
Where were the girls going to stay?
Oh, Gary, you can tell them.
Okay.
We'll leave you in suspense. This is co-ed. Most of them wanted co-ed.
We had these 10 young men design this, and 2 or 3 of them came up with part of the floor space and said, this is where the girls are going to stay.
Well, thank you. And thanks for inviting me back to Salt Lake City. I'd like to talk about dandelions. Dandelions are loved by kids. They blow dandelions, they make necklaces. They love the flower. But as you grow older, something happens. And what happens is that your own norms change. If you buy a house with a garden and you see the flower again, the dandelion, now it's a weed. You'll probably spray it because your lawn has to be as perfect as the neighbors, and only the flowers that you have decided are welcome in your garden. What happened? The loved have turned to hate. The flower is the same, but you have changed. Somehow we all dandelions. I have 3 kids. The 2 oldest, they have been blown away from home. They landed in friendly environment. They're good at teamwork and organizing their own time and being flexible and everything that is expected from everyone today. But my youngest son, he has autism. He was diagnosed at the age of 3. He is now 18. He also has a lot of skills, just like the older kids. One day he's blown away from home. What will happen to him? Where will he end up? Will he be seen as a weed or an herb? He has the same values as the other kids, but it's really the environment where he will end up that will decide if he will have success or not success. And in a labor market that requires flexibility, empathy, teamwork skills, organizing your own time, promoting yourself, he's not good at that. But you can't find any better in tasks that require good memory, pattern recognition skills, structured way of thinking, but also an innovative way of coming up with new ideas. So he has this power of being different, but he can only employ that in a setting where he's not seen as different. And what we're doing today in our society is we are excluding people big time. Go to a recruiter. If you have autism, and you're not good at the social stuff that has been required in any job ad, doesn't matter how good you are, you won't get a chance. I came up with the challenge to society that maybe it's not my son and people like him that is the real problem here. Maybe it's our society that needs to be changed. The day everyone, when they look at the dandelion, think, do I see the weed or do I see the herb? Then we are halfway there. Because it's all about seeing the herb in people, in situations, instead of seeing the weed. And there are so many being excluded today because they are seen as the weeds, the one that do not fit in and are not welcome. When I realized that my son would not stand a chance and he would struggle until he found a place in our society where he could be respected for his special personality and appreciated for his skills, I came up with the idea to start a social enterprise called Specialisterne, Danish for the specialists. We want to provide the environment for people who do not fit into a paradigm for generalists, where it's okay to be different, to be kind of a specialist type of person. And then see how can we unfold and how can we help the employers who are seeking STEM people for STEM jobs. They can't find them. They have to look in very distant places. But they are here. They are in Salt Lake City, they are in Delaware, they are in Copenhagen, they are everywhere. They're just overseen because they're seen as weeds, those who are not kind of welcomed in our labor market. We'll change the labor market because it makes so much sense from all stakeholders, as we discussed early on today. We cannot afford to leave talent on the table here. I started Specialisterne 11 years ago in Denmark. Now we are in 13 countries. I relocated to the US 1.5 years ago to lead the efforts that will lead to 100,000 jobs in the US within 10 years. I'm here to really seek the stakeholders' buy-in to start our program here in Salt Lake City, in Utah. Not just to work with employers, but also to work on the supply system with colleges, universities, high schools. We have a standard training model that we've tried out in a summer camp version for high schools. Has been very, very successful, but we need the kids to get a flair of what is possible in the labor market, how to prepare for that, so they can start thinking of a career, how to use their talent in an appreciated labor market. SAP is our prime corporate partner, and I'm happy to be here with my peer at SAP, Jose. We have started a partnership with HP. There are other companies coming in. I hope many of them will be significant employers here in Utah. Because we have to do it. And with the involvement of stakeholders here, with our close cooperation with Columbus Community Center, we can make this difference here. We cannot just make people with autism fit for the labor market. We can change the labor market for the benefit, not just for people with autism, but also for people with other skills who are limited because they have not been welcomed in the labor market so far. So let's see autism as a case, but this is more about dandelions than it is about autism. It's about changing the paradigm of our labor market.
Can I have the iPhone? They have the... Okay. This is new to me, all right? So bear with me. We'll see what happens. First and foremost, thank you so much, Stephanie, for the invitation. It's been already a wonderful experience getting to hear other speakers, learn a lot, and very importantly, connect with like-minded people. So my name is Jose Velasco, and I am responsible for the SAP Autism at Work program here in the United States. And what I would like to do today is share a little bit about the story, the journey that we have taken in this path of employing 650 plus people by 2020, people who are affected by autism. First, what I would like to do is tell you a little bit about SAP. SAP is a worldwide company, a global company. We are in 130 countries. May I see a show of hands, please, for those who had heard about SAP before? Oh, this is wonderful, thank you. And one thing that is important for me to share is what is it that we do? We are in the world of business applications, enterprise software. We run in very, very large companies throughout the world, and we have approximately 250,000 customers. We have approximately 70,000 employees worldwide. Here in the United States, we are probably at around 7,000 or 8,000 employees, roughly speaking. We have two headquarters, one in Palo Alto, California, and another one in New Town Square, Pennsylvania. The vision of the company is to make the world run better and improve people's lives. I'll talk a little bit about this. I'll circle back to this topic as we move into the presentation. And Stephanie, as he only spoke 5 minutes, I'm going to steal his 5 minutes, okay? All right, so first and foremost, let's talk a little bit about the origins of the program. And I'm trying here to get everything on the screen for you. The program started in 2012 as basically a grassroots movement within the SAP Labs India in Bangalore organization. Basically, a group of employees started volunteering their time for an advocacy group that catered to the needs of people with autism. And basically, the idea was to share with people of low economic resources a platform, i.e. iPads, that would be used to communicate with, or to teach communication for younger kids and young adults in the autism spectrum. From there, there was a lot of enthusiasm about the results, and there was a decision to hire 5 people as software testers into what we call the Suite Testing Center. These are mission-critical operations for us. As I was mentioning, we have 250,000 employees worldwide. And we thought that because of the skills that people brought into the table, people with autism, they would make good software testers. We had heard about the story of Special Eastern and some of the things that we're doing, so we partnered with them at that point in time. And again, we hired these 5 folks who are still at the company as of today. In 2014, in 2014, what we did, we made this global announcement that the company would be represented at 1% of its employee base by people in the autism spectrum. In today's numbers, that means approximately 650 positions. And I'll talk a little bit about the positions that we have enabled for people in the spectrum in the next few slides. From a global perspective, we have hired 42 people as of last year. We're running pilot programs globally. And locations where we have hired people are India, Ireland, the United States, Canada, Germany, and we're going to be opening new locations this year. We're looking at Brazil and perhaps going to Eastern European countries as well. In the United States, we employ 12 people. We have 7 people with autism that are employed in Palo Alto, California, and we have 5 people also employed in New Town Square, Pennsylvania. I'll talk a little bit more about the roles in just a little bit. Oftentimes people ask us, what is the motivation for doing this? And the key motivation for us is to attract talent, okay? We believe that talent comes in very different shapes and forms. And we believe that people in the autism spectrum, aside from the formal education, formal training that they have, they also have special skills that they bring to the table. So we hire people because of autism and in spite of autism. In spite of autism, because in spite of all the challenges that they have had, they are extremely motivated to get a job, extremely motivated to learn new things, and extremely motivated to stay in a company for the long term. For us, that's extremely beneficial because, as some of you may know, the industry, software industry, has a huge degree of turnover, and the replacement cost for employees is not cheap. Oftentimes, it costs about 50% of the person who leaves salary to replace another person, and oftentimes it's 100%, depending on the level of specialization they have. So we're looking at this from a business perspective. We want to increase our retention rates, but most importantly, because we feel that innovation comes from the edges. We feel that innovation comes from those that look at the world differently. And we believe that for us to improve the creative process, we need to bring different perspectives, including the perspective of people with autism. So let me see if I'm synchronized here with my slides. This is the 5-year plan that we have set up for ourselves. And what we see here is 3 big chunks. The first one is 2012 through 2014. This is where we're establishing the pilots that I was mentioning earlier, where we're onboarding anywhere between 3 to 10 to 12 employees in each one of the locations, because we want to learn, what is it to employ people with autism. And as you can imagine, there's different labor laws and different circumstances in every country. So that's why we started this program in a global pilot basis. The next step for us is 2015 through 2017. We would like to go from the good practices that we created in the first part of the project in 2012 and 2014 to better practices, okay? The idea is that now we scale our partnerships, now that we know a little bit better as to what we're doing in a larger scale, that we apply some of those rules in global models that we are in the process of creating. 2018 to 2020, through 2020, goes from better practices to best practices. And the ultimate goal that we have is that there will be onboarding equivalency. What this means is that there will be little difference between employing somebody in the spectrum versus anybody else. It's a very strong goal. We believe that we can get there. But as you can see here in the slide, there's a substantial amount of change management at the beginning that we need to address. But we also believe that we have some level of responsibility as well to share what we're learning with other companies. Hopefully, there will be other companies sitting at the table, so we have more partners to spar with and to exchange information with. That is really the ultimate goal. This is something that we do not in isolation. It is extremely important for us to share the partners that we have. In our case, of course, globally, we have Specialists. Torkil Sone is leading that organization. And what we have set up is, for every one of the different locations that we have worldwide, we have local partners that are helping us execute on the program. In Palo Alto, California, we're partnering with the Department of Rehabilitation, who's helping us with funding, okay, to get the program going. So when we have, let's say, a cohort, a new group of people, they go through 4 weeks of pre-employment training, utilizing methodologies from Specialists that are delivered by a local partner, in this case, Expandability in California or in the ARC in Pennsylvania. So these partnerships have worked wonderfully. We're very happy with the results so far. We employed approximately 42 people in 2014. The board has seen the results and they have approved 105 positions for 2015. So we're very happy with what we're seeing so far. Let's talk a little bit about the jobs. Oftentimes we get this question: what roles are you hiring into? And the roles that you see here on the screen came about in a very accidental way, if you will. Originally, we were targeting software testers only throughout the organization. But very soon, as we went to different business units and asked them, do you have a role or an open position or an open requisition for a software tester? They would say, no, we don't have, but we have something for an open position for a technical writer, or for a business process analyst, or for a graphic designer. Just about every other role but software testers. We did employ 3 software testers in the first cohort, but as you see here, we found the talent that we needed from people in the spectrum, meeting the needs of various different business units and various roles and responsibilities. Oftentimes people tell us, well, these are the very high functioning people in the autism spectrum. What I can tell you from personally knowing a lot of these new colleagues of mine is that the way they are today is not the way that they used to be when they were kids, okay? There's been an enormous amount of work from their part to be able to step up to the plate and be part of the enterprise. We have tremendous support from our partners, from the government and from the nonprofit organizations to make sure that they are onboarded and their employment with SAP is long-lasting. But there are oftentimes cases in which their disability is manifested, okay? How is it manifested? Perhaps in social and communications areas. But We have not faced anything that we cannot bridge yet. We're happy with the program, and again, we are improving on the program itself. What you see here is a picture of what we call the SAP support circle, okay? And because oftentimes people ask us, what is it that you have as far as supports after the employees get onboarded? And what we have first and foremost is a team manager who has received autism awareness training. We have an HR business partner who has also been trained in autism. The training is not very stringent. It's something that we deliver over half a day. We have a team buddy, somebody who works very, very closely with our new colleagues as they start learning their job. We have another very special position. This is the Autism at Work mentor. The mentor is an employee volunteer. What we did as part of our rollout sessions to try to share with people about the program at SAP, we requested the participation of Autism at Work volunteers. We were expecting 5 people in one location, 5 people in another one, and we ended up with approximately 28 people volunteering to make our new employees successful. So it was very, very rewarding. These Autism at Work mentors are the platform for connection into the rest of the company, social connection for our new employees. So for example, they have pizza night, movie night. They go out, they do social activities. They may have a chess club, for example, during lunchtime. And also these colleagues, the Autism at Work mentors, are kind of sparring partners for new colleagues with autism when they have a question about their team that they don't necessarily want to communicate to their manager or their team buddy. And then we have what is called the job coach. The job coach is somebody who comes from a nonprofit organization. This is from Expandability or from the ARC. And this job coach is also not only a conduit for the internal enablement of the employee within the team, but also is a bridge to the personal life of the employee. It's a bridge to the vocational rehabilitation counselor, to a personal counselor, and to the family as well. What we believe is that employees who are happy in their personal life and who are leading fulfilled lives outside of SAP will make good employees as well. Often it's the case that some of our employees do not have the necessary life skills. From a personal perspective, they may be, with the new money that they have right now, spending too much time at night playing video games, okay? And that results in them coming in a little bit later at work or not being fully concentrated in the morning. So our job coaches help us with some of that situation from a personal life perspective as well as from the enterprise. And there's a couple of things, and I think I need to go back a couple of slides. I tapped one too many times. There's a few things that I wanted to highlight, and that is what we call perception busters. These are folks in stories, personal stories of these new colleagues of mine that basically have turned down or eliminated some of the perceptions that we had about autism. The first one is, his name is Patrick, whom you see here in the red tie with Thorkill. Patrick is here pictured with his team buddies on the left and the right, and with his father. And Patrick, as many of you know, early on had deficiencies or issues related to communications in executive function skills. Patrick is an SAP IT project management associate, and for those of you who have worked in project management, there's 2 things that you need to be a project manager. One is good communication skills, and the other one is good organizing and prioritizing. Some things that normally are not really found in people with the autism spectrum, but Patrick has proved otherwise. Patrick received a degree with honors in communications from a university. And Patrick is fantastic, organized, and has the ability to prioritize in a very excellent way. We have other people, for example, like George Brown. George Brown is a technical writer now with our company. And George told me one time about his story. He said, he told me one time, when I graduated from high school, I went and got a job, and they told me, you don't have this or that skill. Go and get this or that skill. So he went and got it, and when he came back, they asked him, you don't have this or that certificate. So he went back and got this or that certificate. Then they asked him for an associate's degree, so he went back and got an associate's degree. And then finally they asked him, you need a college degree. So he went back to the university and got a college degree. And after all that, he still didn't have a job, okay? So if somebody deserves an award for resiliency is Mr. George Brown. He is, again, a technical writer, and he's one of our valued employees in the company. Then we have other myths related to empathy, okay? Here's the son of one of my colleagues at SAP. His name is Ben. He is 15 years old. And Ben works in a soup kitchen. He's a volunteer. And he also created those ribbons that you see him wearing on his shirt. He raised $480 that he donated for an autism cause as well. Lastly, we have also myths about teamwork, that people cannot work in teams. Here's a picture of four of our colleagues with autism participating in a volunteering activity where they painted art that is going to be displayed in hospitals and classrooms, areas that would need a little bit of color and a little bit more happiness. Lastly, we have fun, okay? Our colleagues are really, really a lot of fun to be with. Here you have two of our colleagues who were preparing a room for an executive function. And well, we captured these shots as they were having fun setting up the equipment and so on. Yeah, great people to be around. Last thoughts. I think that what we have seen throughout the process of implementing this program is we have seen extraordinary collaborations from our employee volunteers, from our executives. We have extraordinary partners. We have extraordinary employees now, but hopefully we will be able to move from the world of extraordinary into ordinary very soon, where these programs will not be necessarily discussed in a setting as something very special, but is something that would be incorporated into every other company. I'm a parent of 2 young adults with autism who do not necessarily have an affinity with software, so I would like personally to see other programs elsewhere that will provide them employment opportunities as well. Thank you very much.
I met Jose last summer while he was on vacation, and he took time out from his vacation to spend what was supposed to be an hour with us, and it was a half day. And towards the end of the visit that we had, we found out that you, I believe, had 2 associates traveling with his family on vacation. So you saw the word extraordinary. I think you're an extraordinary man. I appreciate it. Okay, and I need that thing. What's that? You need the microphone closer so they can hear you. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about a project that we have going right now, and we've dubbed it the launch pad, but the launch pad is just one aspect of a residential facility that we're building that we think is going to incorporate some new ways of thinking and providing service. And it also is in keeping with Ben McAdams' concept of collaborative impact. And to give you an idea of who's collaborating with us right now, obviously the University of Utah, Neuroversity, the Lassonde Center, the Autism Council of Utah, Salt Lake County, South Salt Lake, Specialist Sterna, are all cooperating with us. And when we put this program together, it is going to be able to provide a number of services in one place. But let me set the frame a little bit. 1 in 54 people in Utah are diagnosed as being on the spectrum, and we used to be number 1. I believe Tennessee now has a higher diagnostic rate. Certainly Bill McMahon would know who bumped us off our number 1 position. New Jersey? Okay. In the next 10 years, there will be 100,000 adults with autism be ready to enter the workplace. And the cost for autism, when it is accompanied with another intellectual disability, is $2.4 million a year. And without, lifetime. And for those that have autism as the only diagnosis, it's $1.4 million lifetime cost. So the yearly cost of the United States can be somewhere around $236 billion a year. And during adulthood, The highest costs relate to work and residential. There's an impact on the whole family, and I think you heard that a little bit earlier, that it is not uncommon for double-income families to choose to become single-income families because they need to have a full-time caregiver at home. You've heard before, folks graduate from high school that are on the spectrum and they disappear. I think it's understated that the unemployment rate, which one study stated, is 85 to 95%. But as I've talked to Bill McMahon and some of the people at the University of Utah, many times these kids will graduate from high school and academically they're fine. They may actually have very high grade point averages, but they disappear. They fall off the radar screen for 2 years. Adults with autism have greater difficulty finding and maintaining employment than do individuals with other developmental disabilities. And there are two positive things that I see, and I think we've heard a little bit of it today, and certainly Jose and Torkel are confirming this. The post-ADA generation, the positives they have is the people with disabilities that are graduating from high school and from college expect to work and they expect to live independently. And in keeping with dandelions, which I'm not going to spray anymore, the good news is that folks who have disabilities expect the folks that do to live independently and work. And that's probably the biggest change that I've seen in my 42 years in this business. The other positive is that businesses are starting to get it. And people like Jose and Torkel are pushing that message out, and they want other businesses to take advantage. So the world is ready for the Launchpad concept. It's a collaborative effort for transitional living. And we will have an apartment dormitory setting for young adults on the spectrum, and yes, there probably will be housing for girls, right? Okay. And it's a fact that more males are diagnosed with the spectrum than females, but we are going to have housing for girls. Our concept is to take advantage of a transportation-oriented development. It's very big in urban planning right now. And here on the Wasatch Front, we don't have any choice. We've got a big salty lake to the west of us, and we have these rather high mountains on the east of us. And so we're running out of space. So we have a very effective transportation system, but we've never seen a transportation-oriented development really target people with disabilities. And it answered every question that I've come up against in terms of providing integration and opportunity for people with disabilities. Now, I'll have a graphic about that. But in a TOD, you literally are 100 yards away from a tracks line, and the area that we're looking at happens to have the highest rate of bus transfers to the light rail of any other station along the UTA line. The building is going to be a 140-unit apartment complex, probably mixed use. We're not sure what commercially is going to go down in the lower floor. The city of South Salt Lake taught me a new term that we live in a food desert here. That means that the closest grocery store is a long way away. So we can see maybe a deli market in there. Certainly a little sandwich shop might make sense. But I think there's also going to be an opportunity to put commercial work into the building in what I call the digital garage, which I've shamelessly stolen from the University of Utah because they have the garage concept in their entrepreneurial studies. We think that Neuroversity and Specialist Sterna can conduct some of the things that they do when they do group training on site. It's going to have aspects to it that look very much like a workplace. It'll have cubicles, it's going to have social space, and it's going to have a lot of computers. There are going to be a few places that they don't have computers so that they have to talk to each other. We didn't see talking to each other as being a problem when we ran our pilot project last summer. In fact, when Cheryl and her team did a video of the interviews that we had done in another room that we have here, they had to caption head it because the noise in the background with the other 8 or 9 kids talking with each other was so loud you couldn't hear the kid that was being interviewed. And that's unique. And what else is unique is when a parent comes up to us after the first day of training and says, my son has never had a friend before. And we knew we were on the right track at that point. It's going to be transitional. This is not where people on the autism can go and be warehoused and live the rest of their lives. This is a place where we're going to have the support to reassure parents that their sons and daughters are going to go into the community, but they're going to do it with support until they learn how to do it independently. The overall concept has several different aspects to it. I've talked transit, I've talked residential. The enterprise transit, when I show the architectural renderings of the buildings, you'll see a few commercial things down on the first floor. But the Innovation Hub is going to be a place where these kids that disappear after they graduate from high school can attend this program, can live there, and can get jobs. And we have job coaches. We also have residential support staff. The apartment that we're going to build is going to be state-of-the-art. Both Stephanie and I, as we talked about this project early on, we said, that's a place that we'd want to live. And Stephanie wants the, I think, the apartment up on top with the rooftop garden on that. So, access to the community. I pointed out the transit station where we want to build, and we're close to tying up that property. But if not, we're going to find another area that is very close by, walking distance, so that you don't have to own a car. That's the other thing about this next generation that's coming up is, you know, my son doesn't own a car, doesn't see the need, lives in the Seattle area. So we think it's going to look something like this. It's actually 3.5 blocks south of us, right here. It'll be a nice building, multi-storied. It'll have a lot of folks in it, up to 140, and we anticipate that about half of those will probably be market rate apartments. We're hoping to attract college students who also happen to work for us very often as support staff. So when we had talked to some people like Laura, they looked at it and they said, this is what we've been hoping for our son. Can you build 12 more? And we haven't built this one yet, but we knew we were on the right track when we talked with parents on that. So that's the launch pad for opportunity. Are you going to talk long?
I am.
Okay.
I am, because I am going to wrap this up. Goodbye, Kim. With the personal perspective, first of all, if you sit to the side of this gentleman, he looks like Elton John. It's really cool. I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's why I was grabbing the pen, is because I wanted his autograph. I thought it was so fabulous. My name is Laura Anderson. I'm with the Autism Council of Utah, and I serve on the leadership team. And we have been in existence for over 10 years. And our goal is to collaborate and cooperate and to support responsible therapies and innovations that help people with autism, people who are affected with autism, and individuals and families who are affected with autism. And when we met the Columbus Center, we could not have found a better match. It really was a match made in heaven. Everything we have been talking about, you were doing. Okay, pull out your tissues. I understand that there was a quote from Martin Luther King this morning, and I had written this huge, beautiful 3-page essay on Martin Luther King and vision, and hope and inspiration. But the one thing I want to, just one thing I want to emphasize is I had a dream. Well, you know what? I had a dream too. I had a dream that my college basketball husband and myself, 6'1", not short of stature, would have a tall, strapping Sean Bradley sort of boy that we would contract out at age 16, take his $1 million, whether he played basketball or not, and retire. That was my dream. It didn't happen. I have an 18-year-old who is 6'7", weighs 240 pounds, who is nonverbal, has limited receptive skills, and is what would be considered classical and profound autism. So in a way, when I hear all of these exciting programs and these exciting, wonderful things happening, it's defeating. It breaks my heart. It's not fair. It's not right. Why can't my kid do this? This isn't for him. And then I started thinking, well, you know what? Not everybody in a company is the CEO. Not everybody at the university is Dr. Bill McMahon. Not everybody is in charge. There are supporters, there are helpers, there are people that are there to make the organization run and to make it fulfilled and to make it a success and to make it a unity. And that's what I want my son. He doesn't have to be the CEO. He doesn't have to be the software technician. But he can be the dandelion, because we're not spraying anymore either. My husband and I had a long debate about that. No more dandelion spraying. We like dandelions. So grateful for the people who have taken the initiative. Nobody had to do this. Nobody had to make this happen. There's plenty of warehouses. There's plenty of institutions. I believe it was Scrooge who said, "Aren't there homes for these types of people?" There are, and there could be. Nobody had to do this for us. And I say us because thank you for doing it just for me. I really, it is a selfish thing, but I appreciate all that everybody does. I even think the iPads were developed just for people with autism. The rest of y'all just happened to get them, but they were truly developed just for autism. And on the other hand, I think that Disney probably had a stake in the rise of autism because my son keeps them in funding for buying all of their movies. So I kind of wonder if they had something to do with the rise of autism, but that's a whole nother topic for another conference. I also want to tell you about another dream that I had, and this is a real dream. I had the talking dream. And those of you that are parents know what this is. My son talked to me in my dreams. And he said, "Mom, I think Dad understands what I'm saying. He seems to understand what I'm saying. Can you understand me?" I love the talking dream. I love to hear my son's voice. And do you know what is happening in this room right now? I am hearing my son's voice. I am seeing my son's future. And I thank you for my son, for all of the sons and daughters. Whether they're going to be the janitors or the CEOs, they will be a part of something. And we are so happy and so proud to be associated with such an incredible organization. I have books full of Martin Luther King quotes right here, but I think the last one I would like to read, and then I would like to show you a video that Cheryl Smith, who is with the Autism Council, put together as we realized after spending years and years getting these kids diagnosed early. We've got to do early diagnosis. We've got to do early diagnosis. We have to get early intervention. Now we have to get schools. Schools have got to buy on board. In the whole time we were spending all of this energy and effort and education, these kids grew up to be 18-year-old hairy, stinky teenagers. And I don't know where they came from, but they're here. And they're going to be teenagers and adults for a lot longer than they were in school. So we are now focusing the Autism Council on adult services and adult programs and adult opportunities. And as Martin Luther King would say, now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children. I thank you for coming together. I thank you for recognizing that this is no longer a family issue. This is no longer a school issue or a cultural, or a community or a church issue. You know, that family down the street, everybody's got one. That cousin, everybody has one. This is now a community issue, and this will be a lifelong community issue. As I met with our emergency medical service providers, I said, do you realize 1 in 50 of the individuals you're accounting are going to be on the autism spectrum? This is not an anomaly. This is our community. This is our future. So thank you. Thank you again for your willingness to think outside of the box, to embrace change, to try, to fail, to try again, and to be a part of this amazing, amazing community. And I'd like to turn the time now over to this video that was prepared by Cheryl Smith.
Well, that's a tough act to follow. Sure. Are there any questions for this panel? Yes.
The digital garage is going to be simulated workspace and possibly a real workspace where there will be a focus on computers and doing things with computers. Obviously, at SAP, they do a lot of things with computers, but even what we found is that one of the catalytic things that you can have a person on the spectrum do is work on a computer doing something and have somebody help them or have them help somebody. And magic starts to happen in terms of the social skills that they get when they begin to work together in teams. And both Torkel and Cheryl have that as part of their program. So the Digital Garage is going to be a place where folks on the spectrum walk in, they say, oh great, I can be left alone and go to my computer. And what they don't know is they're not going to get left alone, but they're going to come out of it with some skills that will help them in the workplace.
Well, if you have time for just one more quick story, it'll be fast. My son at his high school was learning how to take out the digital garage, the garbage. Wow. You know, I was just isn't this just what we expected? My son in the functional skills classroom taking out the garbage. Okay, whatever, it kills some time, it gives him something to do. A couple of months ago, we heard our front door open, which is normally latched, bolted, and alarmed. The front door opened, we watched to see what was happening, and my son was carrying the garbage out of his bedroom out to the front and putting it in the dumpster and bringing it back in, closed the door behind him, and put the garbage can in his room. We were crying. He thought we were crazy. But what this taught me is growth never stops. It might be slower, it might be at a different pace, but these kids are continuing to grow and continuing to learn. And I just thought going from garbage to growth was a wonderful experience for us.
Well, first I'd like to thank all of you for coming. Second, I'd like to thank Stephanie for putting on a tremendous conference. I'm going to have her put on all of our conferences. I put on about 12 conferences a year for GIC. I can never get 5 panelists to finish in an hour. I can never get 100 people to stay in the audience the entire meeting. So this is a fabulous meeting. I'm very happy that we've been involved with Stephanie. The first meeting was great. This one's even better. I think that we can expect better and better things to come. Just recapping the conference, I think we've seen a very interesting development from a policy panel at the beginning, telling us what people are working on, what things are being thought about. A financing panel in the middle, telling us how the money is now supporting many of these things, and now an applied panel at the end where we see some of these things are actually being put to work. And a lot of people ask me, what is GIC's involvement? Why are they involved in an autism or a special needs type area? And the answer is exactly what we're seeing here, that there are very strong interactions between what happens in the real economy and what happens in families. And I don't think you can separate those. When it's 2% of the population you're talking about, I mean, it's obviously integral. And we're seeing now, I think, that in the United States, we're in the phase of the cycle where this stuff is going to become very, very exciting. The U.S. economy is continuing to grow. It's expanding. The unemployment rate now is 5.6 nationally. It's 3.3% here in Utah. The last time we were down at unemployment rates this low, people were waiting outside of prisons looking for people because they needed labor like that. But, you don't find STEM labor coming out of prisons. So, I mean, we're starting to look deeper and deeper into our workforce. The internet, the social connectivity is making more and more things possible. It's not making all things possible. I mean, one of the reasons for a conference like this is the networking and the interaction. I mean, if there is one flaw, it's that we don't have more breaks and more ability to talk to each other. And the reason for that is you go on the internet and you type in something like autism, you get 85,000 responses. I mean, it's not simple to find a place to start. And if nothing else, I think that's what Columbus is offering us, is a place to start. And through these kind of conferences, a networking operation allows us to work that network and talk to others. So I learned 2 things here today. One is that SAP has an operation at Newton Square, Pennsylvania, which is outside of Philadelphia, which is where GIC is headquartered. And the second is that New Jersey is now the highest ranking state for autism. So I'm wondering why I'm not having this conference in Philadelphia, and I think the answer is I will be. Is Don Rissmiller still here? So again, we thank you all for coming. I think Stephanie has some housekeeping things to finish, but thank you all for coming now, and I look forward to all seeing you in another year.
Gift, thank you. Just for some background, I don't know if I mentioned this at the beginning, Graham Simpson is an author who has written 2 books now, the Rosie Project and now the Rosie Effect, and has sold the movie rights, and I think we're going to be seeing disabilities coming into the mainstream in some really positive ways, and so anyway, it was a gift for all of our speakers today, and I hope you enjoy it. And Graham is going to come back and do a little fundraising for us, so I'm excited about that. I, again, want to thank all of you for being here. It's a very meaningful experience. Columbus, we're very grateful that we can be a partner, a collaborator in the community and bring people together for these discussions. They're not easy discussions. They can be fruitful discussions. There's still a lot of work ahead of us to do. I think I want to close with just reminding you of what I started with at the beginning. So we have a commitment to the next generation. We have a commitment to the last 60 years of families who have made incredible sacrifices. I think we can continue these conversations and break down the silos, talk to each other, make this a community effort to make lives better for people with disabilities. I want to know that Ty is going to have an incredible life as a young adult, that Lars is going to have an incredible life as a young adult, that Sarah Willard is going to have an incredible life, that Jamie, that Aaron, that all these young people that we're touching now really are going to have a future. They're going to be an integral part of our lives every day, and we're not going to look at dandelions the same way anymore. They're beautiful, they're a part of our life, and I hope everywhere we go that we see those dandelions sprout. So thank you for that metaphor, Torkel. We have lunch now. We have some box lunches. I know some of you have to go, some stay. I want you to talk. This is really a great opportunity for some networking. I have some Columbus staff who will be more than happy to take you out on tours of the entire facility. So I think what we'll do is just stagger it, and if some of you'd like to take a tour right now, why don't you come up here and meet by the screen, and I'll have one of my staff start doing some tours, and then about every 5 minutes, if you want to congregate up here, we can only take about 10 people at a time through the facility, and go ahead and please eat and ask questions and enjoy the rest of this winter day. And thanks again for being here. And thank you to the GIC for elevating this discussion in so many ways. I really appreciate it. So thanks, everybody.